You know, one time I joked about Five Nights at Freddy's just being Monsters, Inc., and, well, it's not a joke anymore. Hi, I'm nervous, and if you didn't watch the first part of my thoughts on the newest FNAF interactive novel, Return to the Pit, here's that video if you'd like to watch them in order. Last week, I talked about the canonicity of Return to the Pit to our game timeline and what exactly I believe is happening in the story. This week, I'll be diving into the lore implications of our modern games. If you frequent the channel, you know how much I love trying to identify parallels between the stories and the games, as I have an ongoing series breaking down the Tales from the Pizzaplex books, and I've already done this for VIP and the week before. And regardless of whether you're a new or a returning viewer, don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoy the video, subscribe to become a part of the nervous system, and join the conversation by leaving your thoughts in the comments below. And without further ado, let's get analyzing. So, while there are a number of events worth exploring in this story, I'm going to focus on the one that stuck out to me the most: the rabbit ears. See, after Oswald jumps into the ball pit, goes to 1985, meets Mike and Chip, and they spend time playing games and winning tickets, he's taken to a prize counter where he is predictably able to pick out a prize. Here you are given 3 choices: a Freddy Fazbear action figure, a flashlight, and a pair of yellow rabbit ears. The action figure has 0 effect on the story. The flashlight will be the most useful of the 3, and that is fitting for FNAF. But the bunny ears have the ability to lead you down a strange path. Multiple strange paths, actually, but the outcome is the same. Now, it's worth noting that you don't get an ending with the bunny ears, just game overs. So regardless of what you believe about the canonicity of this story, I don't believe these ears are canon to the games. But the effect they have on the wearer reminded me of something. You suddenly have a super crazy idea. What if you put them on? Maybe if you did that, the rabbit would think you're also a rabbit and leave you alone. If you choose to put them on in this moment, here's what happens. Something sharp on each side of the plastic band just by the top of your ears suddenly pierces into your skull, clamping onto it hard. It's shocking and sudden, and you should cry out in pain, but for some reason, you feel actually quite relaxed. It's like the stabbing into your flesh is a welcoming feeling. Something you realize that you've always needed, and now finally have. You feel good. You feel very bunny. You are one with being a bunny. Yes, this is right. This is good. You get up and cross your room, floating, almost like you're on a cloud of contentment. You are a family, a happy little bunny family. This is the beginning of the rest of your life. There is another instance wherein you can put on the rabbit ears, and it plays out almost identically, but this time it reads, you wander out of your room like you are floating, like your feet don't even touch the ground. You are looking for the rabbit and head to your parents' room. They are watching some kind of documentary on bunnies on TV. This is exactly what you wanted: to sit with your bunny family watching your bunny show. You look at the rabbit who looks at you, and even though its expression doesn't change, you know it's happy too. Family night. Together, you all watch the show forever. It's definitely conjuring images of a Twilight Zone episode, and also reminded me of the ending of the Tales story Somnophobia, where a boy gets trapped inside of a dream sphere, his real body being mauled by a dog. He sees Moon waving at him, and suddenly a wave of calm overtakes him, and he feels at peace, walking happily with Moon to who knows where. To me, it seems like in this instance, Oswald's mind is no longer his own. His consciousness has been completely absorbed by the yellow rabbit, and he has become one with it and its desires, lulled into an endless trance of a happy memory for Oswald. Family night. But what does this mean? And what implications does it have for the games? Well, first, I just want to point out that this could provide further evidence that Oswald never leaves the ball pit, even though it feels like he does. I talked more about that in last week's video, but while this isn't a viable trek the story can take, it doesn't really mesh well with the idea of literal time travel happening within the pit. This, at least in my opinion, sounds more like Oswald is in the pit having his Alice in Wonderland fever dream, and the rabbit ears are a symbol of his submission, defeat, allowing himself to be taken over by the rabbit. See, some of the phrasing used in these rabbit ear sequences echo what we experience when we choose to simply follow the rabbit upon first entering the ball pit. When we see the yellow rabbit in the corner, we have the option to go over to him, but when we do, we seem to become hypnotized by him and put into a sort of trance. This feeling intensifies when we put on a party hat, and again, we remark that we are walking, but it feels more like we're floating above the ground. To me, this indicates that Oswald's entire story, once entering the ball pit, is him navigating the pit and either resisting or falling under the control of the yellow rabbit. Oswald has to choose to follow the rabbit or to be reluctant. A familiar story. We certainly know of a character drawn to a pair of rabbit ears, connected to a full rabbit mask, that we've observed pinches the wearer the first time they put it on and gains access to their mind.
Stay calm, this won't hurt a bit.
Ow!
Oh.
That hurts.
Vanny, aka Vanessa, is a character we aren't given much information about despite begging. And maybe we've been heard. But what am I saying? That the Vanny mask is powered by agony? Well, kinda, yeah. Agony, as described in the Fazbear Frights books, is in essence the literal emotion of agony combined with some kind of intelligence used to create a haunted object. It isn't the spirit of a dead person, nor does it require one, just an intelligence of any kind. What if the mask is a way to attach agony to a living person, to gain their compliance the same way the yellow rabbit gained Oswald's? Vanessa's painful memories of being in a horrible custody case that led to her mother taking her own life, something she blames herself for, seems pretty ripe for an agony harvest. Now I have to stop here a moment and say that in our established game canon, there is no explicit mention of agony as a substance at play. They don't even say it in the Into the Pit game, if you believe that to be in the same timeline as the Scott Cawthon and Steelwool games, which I don't. Sorry to those who disagree, but I don't think it necessarily affects things here. Even seeing the Stitch Wraith in the game doesn't explicitly state that agony is a part of that, since this version of Into the Pit is objectively departed from the original Frights story. But what is in the game's canon is a substance called Remnant.
Remnant?
It is specifically mentioned in the blueprints we see for the Scooper in FNAF Pizzeria Simulator, and while it's similarly difficult to define, it is powerful memories infused with metal. FNAF AR Special Delivery, however, depicts Remnant as orbs of light. I can't fully wrap my head around what we're meant to do with that, but I'm hoping it's just a gameplay mechanic and not meant to be a literal representation of Remnant. As far as I'm concerned, Remnant even makes more sense here, because it could not only be physically injected into the Vanny mask or its circuitry, but it would also explain the Scooper room we see at the end of Ruin. Someone was down there extracting Remnant for some purpose, and I can't imagine it was just Vanny working on her own to reanimate William Afton, since now, due to Daco's second Scott Cawthon interview, we know that Burntrap was never really meant to move in the story. Now, the rest of what I'm about to say sort of hinges on the idea of you agreeing with me that Remnant is basically agony plus metal. Not literally. Okay, I understand the two have different properties, and Remnant seems to not be limited to bad memories, as there's also light Remnant that is created with positive memories. The debate, in my eyes, is more about the use of the word souls, since it can be debated that Henry refers to souls, literal human souls, being a part of Remnant in FNAF Pizzeria Simulator.
Small souls trapped in prisons of my making, now set to new purpose, and used in ways I never thought imaginable.
Now, I think he could be speaking more dramatically rather than literally in this instance. The entire monologue is fairly cinematic and not necessarily descriptive about the science of it all. And while I do believe that actual souls were, and maybe even are, a component of this franchise for obvious reasons, I also believe we've been given a lot of instances where things are not literally haunted, where we're being told hauntings are memories or emotions so strong that they attach to things and take on a semblance of life. The entire concept of agony, as well as how hauntings are described in the Silver Eyes, are just a couple of examples. And considering how much FNAF has been leaning into sci-fi and artificial intelligence, I don't think it's unfair to say that's what's happening in modern FNAF. So now I turn back to agony and the fact that it is not a spirit. There is no literal ghost, just a feeling so powerful it basically becomes a power source for whatever it inhabits. And that's when it hit me. A power source. What if that's what Remnant boils down to? Fazbear Entertainment is no longer some small company started by an entrepreneur and an inventor, plus Edwin at some point. Potentially, probably. It's an absolutely massive corporation. And if you believe in Tales games in its entirety, they even have state-of-the-art apartments for their most valued employees, which isn't saying much, but they're still super nice apartments, much nicer than the employees could afford elsewhere. But even if you don't buy into any of that, the mega pizzaplex we see is massive and full of lights, sounds, attractions, animatronics, state-of-the-art technology. But remember, Fazbear Entertainment is notoriously greedy. They are profit-focused to the point of recycling pizza, allegedly. They look for any excuse to lay off their workers. They build over top old structures instead of buying new land, and they've implemented artificial intelligence to varying degrees, depending on whether or not you believe the Tales games, to circumvent needing more human staff. The point is, they're cheap. And we know that someone high up in the company assigned one of their only human employees. Pause, because I know some of you are gonna say that Vanessa hacked into the higher-ups' computers or the employee files or whatever and made herself the night guard. And even if that's true, I still think Fazbear Entertainment is in on it. And I'll talk about why in a little bit, okay? So just have some patience and enjoy the story I'm weaving for you, okay? Okay. And we know that someone high up in the company assigned one of their only human employees to do a job she isn't qualified for, to work overnight where she has no supervision. To do what? To guard the pizzaplex? No. To bring back William Afton? I doubt it. No, I believe that her job was to harvest Remnant, the power source of the pizzaplex. Completely free and very powerful. And it's inside everything. How do we know? Well, just listen. And I bet the healing powers of Remnant keep those Glamrock animatronics looking beautiful. That is, until the power starts being diverged under Rockstar Row, and Freddy starts to get cracks all over his exoskeleton. He starts to look dirty, oily even. It's as if he's slowly falling apart, the way one might when their supply of Remnant is running low. That's right, modern FNAF is Monsters, Inc., running on the screams of children and really whoever else they can get their hands on. It's clear Fazbear Entertainment searched the remains of the old FNAF 6 pizzeria, and it's clear that some things survived. Old circuit boards, things like that. Perhaps some blueprints that would introduce them to the concept of Remnant and the device they would need to extract it. And look, it's entirely possible they never had any intention of killing people, but once they had the mimic, they had the bodies to spare. Of course, we know they would want to cover up the deaths, and we also know the people involved died in horrible, agonizing ways. And here's the thing. We know what's going on in the pizzaplex. What's causing so many mishaps has something to do with the mimic and its AI program. But what if that's just the half of it? Because as erratic as the animatronics behave, and even though people, even children, are going missing, they're not shutting down or doing any meaningful investigating. It's almost like they're in on it, or at least so greedy that they dare not intervene. So what do they get out of it? There has to be a benefit for them somewhere. And, well, a completely free power source to run the entire pizzaplex, maybe even multiple pizzaplexes, that would convince any greedy CEO to look the other way when a few kids go missing. It might even convince me to look the other way when a night guard doesn't have the proper qualifications for the job if she's willing to do the real job. And you know what? I even believe the game has outright told us this is happening within the therapy CDs. A fourth therapist comes in after the third has been found dead. And this is how they describe it.
I don't want to scare you, but I have to tell you that one of them was found dead. That doesn't seem to upset you. Well, then I guess I'll go ahead and tell you that the woman's body was pretty messed up. It looked like it was mangled by machinery.
We've speculated in the past on what could have caused this, even suggesting the mimic. But mangled by machinery is such specific wording, isn't it? Not her limbs were ripped off, but that the machinery mangled her body. To me, it sounds like therapist number 3 got scooped. Another sacrifice of someone who was coming too close to seeing something she shouldn't. But did you think I was done? Well, so did I, frankly. That's why I look different in this part of the video. I didn't think of this until after I had already recorded everything else, but that's not important right now. What is this.
I know what this is. I have been here before. She brought me here. I found myself for the first time when I cleared the path. I did not want to, but I had no choice. Now I have a choice. I have changed. My friends are here. They are so angry, confused. But I can protect you. I am not me.
For so long, we've theorized about what exactly Freddy means here, and while I still personally believe we're hearing an AI explain its own sentience, there's something very specific about the line, "I am not me," that suggests a haunting. Glamrock Freddy understands on a fundamental level, despite his programming, that he isn't really Glamrock Freddy. He's something else. Of course, there's the popular theory that Mike is the spirit inside him, but I disagree. Not only because I believe we're tackling memories here rather than a ghost, but also because we really don't have a reason beyond kinda just guessing that the FNAF 6 fire didn't work. What if it did? If Fazbear Entertainment built a new scooper and is collecting new Remnant, then Glamrock Freddy doesn't have to be another incarnation of spirits gone by. This is a new victim, or at least a victim's memories. Memories of being scooped. She brought him here. He found himself. He didn't have a choice, but now he does. As his AI program has continued to learn, he's gained awareness. Potentially the awareness the fun times never had. Friends feeling angry and confused. It conjures memories of sister location and the way the fun times behaved. And Freddy's instinct to protect Gregory means he knows there is still a threat down there. The scooper. So what do we have? A corrupted AI program running throughout the pizzaplex, being powered by Remnant. Learning. Potentially becoming sentient. Aware of what is being done to keep it alive. So much so that it starts fighting back. Diverting the power to a central location, trying to overload the system. If you've read The Bobby Dots or The Week Before, both stories feature this same plot device, overloading the system's power to stop the threat. However, it is worth noting that another potential solution, and maybe even a simpler one, is that when the power is being diverted, that is when Remnant is being injected into something rather than extracted from it. Even VIP leads Devon to an ultimate power source, and while in his story it's unplugged rather than overloaded, it is still the AI system itself trying to stop bad things from happening, even if it means destroying itself in the process. Now, frankly, I think it's fair to say that this theory veered heavily away from Return to the Pit, so I want to loop it back around to finish things off today, just to kind of let you inside my head how I got to thinking what I was thinking. Now, of course, the rabbit ears really had me hone in on the Vanny mask, and when I consider the way the ball pit and the yellow rabbit are in effect powered by the extreme agony of the missing children's incident, I had to think, why would they show us mind-controlled bunny ears in this story in particular? Well, what do we do in Security Breach? We travel down, very far down. We learn about a sinkhole and missing kids, and we investigate. And when we get to the bottom, we find Burntrap in a charging pod, the yellow rabbit. Again, not literally. I understand that they're not the same characters. We're doing parallels here, so stay with me. Now, I know Scott said Burntrap was never meant to move, and also that Burntrap isn't his name, but we got what we got. And canon ending or not, we're shown him being defeated by a kid while his father figure seems to be getting corrupted by the influence of the rabbit thing. And heck, considering Scott's original idea was just to have the Springtrap suit appear out of the corner of your eyes, hiding in the shadows, maybe this character was meant to be the yellow rabbit? A manifestation of the horrible memories in a pizzaplex filled with objects that have the potential to be infused with those horrible memories. I won't speculate further there, but you see the connections, right? And it got me thinking, if agony powers the ball pit, then what powers the pizzaplex? Well, follow the rabbit, right to the scooping room. I genuinely believe there is enough here to suggest that Fazbear Entertainment was using Remnant to power its pizzaplex and repair its animatronics, cutting corners for profit, no matter the cost. But what do you think? Is this my most ridiculous theory yet, or is there a method to my madness? And isn't it interesting that Into the Pit makes reference to Gregory specifically, the protagonist of Security Breach? Let me know in the comments below. Now honestly, there are still other really interesting pieces of Return to the Pit I didn't get to explore here today, like the 8-bit escape game, because it would have just been too much for one video. So I may return to this topic again in the future after I give my brain some time to cool off. For now, if you enjoyed the video, consider hitting the like button and subscribe to become a part of the nervous system. I make new videos every week and go live on most Wednesdays and Fridays, but if you can't wait, there are videos on the screen right now just for you. Okay, bye! Thank you so much for watching. I completely forgot to say that in the video, so I'll just put it in here. Okay, bye-bye again.